You still have time. As I grow older, I'm just really starting to understand to a deeper extent that we still have time. And when I say that, I really mean in the sense that it's never too late. It's never too late to start what you want to do. It's never too late to turn a new leaf. It's never too late to change who you are, what you want to do. I don't think it's ever too late to do any of these things. And to think that it's too late is almost to fall into the sunk cost fallacy, which is a fallacy of essentially when you make a bad decision or you enter the wrong door, you enter the wrong room, and you stay in that room, and your justification is that, oh, because I've already been here for so long, I might as well continue to be here. I think it's a very counterintuitive point to make. Obviously there's a quote that goes around that's like, oh, like it's better to admit you're in the wrong room, or it's better to admit you walked through the wrong door rather than staying in the wrong room for your entire life. And I think that's very true. I think it's important to recognize how much time that we do have and the fact that we do have so much opportunity to change at any given point. And when I say you still have time, I don't necessarily mean in the sense that we should not be grateful for it and that we shouldn't take advantage of the time that we have. But I really mean it in the sense that smooth is fast. And I really just mean to say that, just because other people are going at a specific pace, as we just see throughout all the internet, everything like that, and even just the people around us, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the pace that you have to go. I think that God has a natural timing, has a divine timing for all of us, and for everything that we want to accomplish. So I think it's important to almost take the perspective that almost everything that you're doing right now does eventually contribute to that end goal that you want to achieve. It's almost saying that, oh, you in order to win the 100th time, you had to lose the first 99 times. And I think that if we take that into account, and even in our day-to-day lives, then we almost kind of start to see everything as a means to achieve the goals that we want to achieve. We start to see everything as an opportunity rather than something that you're wasting time on. And even in the things that we decide to change, we still see it as growth rather than something that, we'd be better off without. And just to go along with this topic, this is something I've had a perspective on for a very long time, but, I've always kind of understood the fact that regret is not a good thing. And not to say that you can't wish that you did something differently, but almost to say that regret is almost rejecting who you are today, rejecting who you are now, and rejecting who you think that you're going to be in the future. Because I think it's the specific circumstances that we do tend to regret. It's almost that those allowed us to be who we are today. So regretting those circumstances from happening, we're almost saying that we regret who we are today as a result of those circumstances. So I'm really just starting to understand how important it is that we shouldn't regret anything that we do. And that's not to say that you can't be apologetic for the things that you do, especially if you're in the wrong. And you can't necessarily, hope that things or like almost kind of wish that things would have went differently. But almost in accepting that what happened happened and it happened that way for a reason. And in doing so, you're almost accepting yourself today and you're accepting and almost having an optimistic view of the future. And I think that's very important because I think that if you think that your future is going to be negative, then your brain will just naturally find ways to make it more negative. But if you think your future is going to be more positive, your brain will naturally find ways to make it more positive. So I think it's very important on our perspective of time and our perspective of ourselves and recognizing that, we still have time. Just because other people are achieving things at certain times, at certain, not even deadlines, but time frames, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do the same thing. It doesn't necessarily mean that that's the timing for you. And it's very, very possible that, sometimes God shows us things through other people. So it's very possible that God's showing us that these people have these things at a certain time to show us that it's very possible to achieve these things, even if we don't it's not necessarily meant for us in that specific same time frame. So I'm really just understand that we still have time. It's about almost having urgency, but also being patient at the same time. And it seems very paradoxical, but I think it's a very possible thing to do. Urgency in the sense that you're doing everything that you can with what you have, that you're trying your best and you're generally putting in as much work as you possibly can. And not necessarily like to the point of exhaustion, not to the point that you're not sleeping, that you're not resting, that you're not enjoying yourself, but to the point that you're going at your own flow, you're going at your own rate. You're being consistent. I think consistency is really the most important part of it all. So it's not necessarily about working out, 5 hours one day a week. It's about working out 25 minutes every day of the week. Because I think that the consistency is ultimately what compounds into success. So it's really about recognizing that you should almost go with the flow. You should try to be natural in what you do. And in being natural, you should try to be consistent. And then that's the urgency part. And then just being patient for the results to show. But then also almost not wanting the results in a sense, and recognizing that in putting in the work, the result is already here. In substantiating the positive mindset, the positive thoughts, and the positive feeling that you would have after you achieve your goal, achieving that in the present moment, and giving yourself that in the present moment. Then you almost no longer desire the goal. And then, like I said, the process almost becomes rewarding in itself. Because you're no longer hoping for the feeling that you get once you achieve the goal, because you already have that feeling. So rather you're doing it not necessarily for an external goal, but you're doing it because it's internally a part of who you are. It's you just being authentic. And I think that takes away from, the tediousness and almost like the grind set discipline that I think we've been conditioned to think is the only way to be successful. That, I need to work 13 hours a day, I need to get 2 hours of sleep, I need to do all these certain things. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think rather it's important to understand that if these things that you want to accomplish, if the process of getting there, if that was just a part of who you were, then it would never feel like work. It would never feel like something you're forcing yourself to do, just in the same way that we don't force ourselves to brush our teeth. We don't force ourselves to breathe. We don't force ourselves to exist. So I think it's really about almost treating the process towards achieving your goals as if it's like existing, in the sense that it's a part of who you are. It's a part of what you do. So it's not necessarily something that you force yourself to do. It's just a part of who you are. And that, again, goes with going with the flow. And honestly, just being patient. And maybe not even necessarily patience, because I think patience is assuming that you're waiting for something, but almost just being here right now, being present. Being present enough to recognize that you could substantiate any positivity, any gratitude, and any feeling that you want to give yourself. You could substantiate that in the present moment. And being present enough to recognize that to desire is to not have. And conversely, to have is to not desire. So honestly, giving yourself what you want in the present moment internally, and then just almost existing in that and being grateful for that. And I think in doing so, it almost appears naturally in the external world as a result of that internal gratitude. All that to say, I just think it's important that we kind of recognize that we still have time to do all the things that we want to do. It's never too late to start, and it's never too late to change. Every moment is an opportunity for change. And, I think oftentimes we could think that, just because I was this way for so long, then if I change now, then it's all a waste. But it's seeing everything as a part of a journey for a large goal. And then seeing it that way, you realize that nothing that you ever did is wasted. All of it can come back, and all of it was a part of the journey that made you who you were today and who you're going to be tomorrow. I have a Bible verse that goes with the topic of this video pretty well. It's taken from Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1. And it says, there's a time for everything and a season for every... Hold on. Sorry, my handwriting is a bit bad. And there's a season for every activity under the heavens. So it's almost just recognizing God's divine timing. And just because some people have something in a present moment, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will never achieve it just because you don't have it right now. But rather that maybe you're just not ready to achieve it. Or maybe there's, something that's beyond human understanding, beyond our own understanding that God sees. And recognizing that, just because you don't have it right now while other people have something now, that doesn't mean that you're never going to have it. So it's really just about being optimistic in that sense. I hope you took something from this video. And yeah, thank you for watching.